Shout out to my buddy Ronan, longtime follower of the museum from New York. This was his pride and joy. I've never seen a better looking XS850.
Absolutely the finest one we've ever had through the shop here. And me being a Yamaha guy, I've owned literally dozens of these since the 80s, including a midnight special. I started out with an XS850. That was the first bike I ever purchased.
Get out of the road.
The first bike I ever took out a loan for was a 1977 Yamaha XS650, and eventually upgraded to an 850, the triple. It was a step up, and it's a really unique piece. It's the only three-cylinder Japanese double overhead cam four-stroke engine that Yamaha ever made. It started out as a 750, ended up as an 850, and this one's been massaged, performance massaged, front to back, top to bottom. The engine's just been rebuilt. We'll go over the work order when we get inside, but I want to do a little bit more riding demo so you can really appreciate the look and sound and performance of this classic 40-year-old Yamaha. 4 decades, and it only has 11,800 miles on it, which is nothing. Absolutely a well cared for machine. Has a gnarly little rumble to the 3-cylinder. Let me do a drive-by, then we'll go over the specs on the work order.
Yeah, rolling in.
Guys, we'll get to the heart of the beast, the engine, a little bit later. I'll just touch on one thing. It's again, it's a triple inline 3-cylinder double overhead cam 4-stroke with a 5-speed transmission and shaft drive with a double down tube steel frame. Long travel forks, triple disc brakes. It is the only engine I can compare it to is a Triumph Trident, because I don't know of any other manufacturer. Triumph actually later made a replica, another triple, but Triumph's the only other company I know that made an engine like this. Starting at the front end of the bike, it's got a brand new Conti front tire on here, still got the nubs on it. The front wheel was taken off, the brakes were rebuilt, all the fluids were changed. It has new braided stainless lines on here, and the master cylinder was rebuilt. The paint job on the gas tank is absolutely beautiful. I'll get to that in a second. The original turn signals, headlight bucket are mint shape. It's been upgraded to a set of Superbike bars with some nice chrome and black rubber grips. You can see everything's nicely done with the zip ties holding all the wires on. A new set of mirrors. The brake and clutch lever appear to be in brand new condition, as is all the cables, and the gauges look to be in mint shape. The paint job's beautiful. It's a custom black and silver with the blue with the gold Yamaha decal on there. The seat's been refinished and recovered on the bike. The side panels are the original side panels. The shocks are upgraded to a performance set of Hagon long travel shocks. The rear brakes have gotten the same treatment as the front, a rebuild with a new braided stainless brake line, new fluids, and new pads. Heading to the back of the tire, there's also a new matching Continental rear tire with less than 50 miles on it. It still has the nubs on it. It's a brand new tire. So brand new tires, the brakes have been rebuilt, suspension's been redone. The front forks, I forgot to mention, the fork lowers were polished, machine polished aluminum on the lowers, and the fork upper tubes are in mint condition. The engine is brand new. I didn't want to rev it out too much because it's barely broken in. So I'll go over that work order in a second. But back to the specs of the bike. It's an 826cc, 79 horsepower, which is approaching, that was Superbike levels back in 1980. Double overhead cam, twin cams, 5-speed shaft drive, 568 pounds with a 6-gallon gas tank. That's quite a lot of gas, and it gets good fuel mileage. You can pretty much ride all day long. This was an upgrade from the XS850, which is a very similar beast. The 850 engine received bigger barrels and pistons, a beefier crankshaft, a wider primary chain, and improved oil ways. So it also has a factory oil cooler you can see mounted underneath the triple clamp in the front to let it run a little bit cooler. There were some frame improvements, including a new swing arm mounting and alloy footrest carriers, and had more custom look on the bike. So it was a little bit more upgraded cosmetically on the 850 than it was a 750. So again, the new paint job, the new shocks, the new tires, new brakes, new seat, new 3-into-1 header. The bars were replaced, the grips and the mirrors, and the thing was completely detailed, what we call a rotisserie detail, from top to bottom, front to back, steam cleaned. All the chrome was cleaned and polished. The frame was touched up. The forks and the swing arm were hand polished. The exhaust headers are painted to VHT ceramic flat black. The muffler was polished. The hand controls were touched up, and the rims were polished. All of the aluminum on the rims were hand cleaned and polished. Doc and Ronnie worked on that for a couple days, over 10 hours labor just on the detailing of the bike after all the upgrades were done. It's running VP non-ethanol fuel, and the bike has been completely gone through mechanically. The cylinder head and the jugs and pistons were all removed. The engine was bored, and a new XS11 piston set was installed with a new NOS ring set, a new cam chain connecting link, a new complete gasket set, head gasket, base gasket, all the gaskets on the motor, new intake valve, new exhaust valve, and a new valve spring set, a new fuel line and filter after the tank was cleaned, 3 new spark plugs, and a brand new air filter. So the engine's top end's completely been redone. The bottom end of the engine was flushed out when the top end was off to make sure everything was clean in there. All the valve shims were set. The carburetors were completely rebuilt and adjusted. The fuel screws and the cars are also synchronized, which is why it is carbureted perfectly. If you can clean a set of carbs, this isn't like buying a bike off of Craigslist that just needs a carb clean. You know, like they always say, this one's, the carbs have been cleaned, rebuilt, adjusted, synchronized, new air filter, the top end's been rebuilt, new head gasket, base gasket, new valves, new shims, new spark plugs, new rings, new tires, new brakes, Hagon shocks, and a custom paint job. So you add all of those items up, you bring your Craigslist special 850 that you bought for $1,000 that looks good to the shop, and add up what all these services cost, including a paint job, and you're going to drop $5,000 into creating this bike, which is easy to do. A paint job's $1,000, the shocks are $300, the tires installed to be over $400, the brakes at least $300 on the brake system, $100 a disc. The seat's a $300 seat. The header's going to cost you $300. The bars are $60, and then you go through all the labor and parts to do the motor and everything else, and voila, you've got a $5,000 work order. We've seen that before here, so, and that's what I'm looking at right here. I've got a $5,000 investment between the previous owner and what we did. We just rebuilt the motor. Actually, it was done by Jeff Castine at All Sport Cycle, another one we outsourced to him, and it's done. Now, I also have a clean title in hand, which is another rarity for a classic 40-year-old motorcycle to get the title. We don't always get those, so. Kenny, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah. Guys, the bike's probably going to have another 5 miles or so, because if Ronan comes out, I'm going to offer to let him take this to the state park up the hill here. Ronan, really pleased with how the bike came out. Guys, Ronan's a fan of the museum and donated it. He said, whatever you guys want to do with it, part out, restore it, sell it. I'm hoping that someone could buy it, leave it on display here for a little bit. If not, buy it, ride it off into the sunset, guys. All the proceeds are going to the New England Motorcycle Museum Continuation Fund.
So not on my watch would a bike like this ever get parted out. It's not something I believe in doing, although I understand the sentiment. It's hard to find parts for them. one of the last Yamahas to come with a Kickstarter in addition to the electric start. So if you want to impress your friends, show them how it was done old school style. It also has the electric start, which is 90% of the time you do that. The electric starter works perfectly. Just a really cool piece. Hey, like I said, I've been a Yamaha guy since 1972 when I got my GT80, and I raced Yamahas all through my career. I've never had a Yamaha engine blow on me. After actually something came up in my Facebook profile this morning. If we're friends on Facebook, check it out. In 2010, by this time of the year, I had done 192 motos, and I won 4 of those championship plaques up there racing at NEMA. Doing the Motocross Association, and just had a blast. And we did some NESC, some NEMA, some other New Hampshire motocross, and pretty much just local racing in the Northeast here. But in the vet expert and expert class on a Yamaha, and it never gave me a problem. 192 races in 1 year. So what does that have to do with this bike? Well, Yamahas have been notorious. There you go again, notorious. They're famous for being super reliable, trouble-free bikes. This one's been totally sorted out with 12,000 miles on it. Beautiful piece, man. I love it. Hope it goes to a good home. All proceeds from the sale go to fund the New England Motorcycle Museum and keep us rocking along. So thanks for watching. God bless America.